Hello and welcome to the Northern Souls podcast. I'm Zeke and I'll be the host. So this is it's going to be a new podcast for me. Sometimes it'll just be me. Other times I may have guests. Yeah, we're just going to talk about spirituality, astrology might come up, but it's not going to be the main focus. And I'm also going to talk about psycho spirituality, which is just basically just combining psychology and spirituality, really. Um, I promise it won't be new agey, but to my mind, when it comes to mental health and spiritual well being, the two are inseparable. Well, along with physical health, but there you go. That's a bit of a side note. Anyways, for this first episode, just to kind of introduce myself, who I am, and what's up, is I just wanted to talk about why I am a heathen. So, as some of you may know, I was raised a Christian, and I was a very serious Christian. All up until I was like 18 or 19, I was well on to my way to becoming a pastor. I'd even given a sermon, and I led Bible study groups with my youth group. But after doing deeper Bible study, especially with the Old Testament, I just couldn't get past kind of the contrast in language with the God of the Old Testament and then Jesus Christ, who are supposedly the same person because of the Holy Trinity. And I just got really disillusioned with it, and then eventually just went to paganism. Just a hard transition to paganism. uh, because for me, I always knew where I came from, unlike a lot of people nowadays. My family was also always very into genealogy, and we were actually fortunate enough to be able to track our ancestry to royalty, which, of course, almost everybody's descended from royalty at some point. But if you can actually prove it on paper, it's pretty impressive. And well, my family was able to do that. So I always knew exactly where I came from. I was always aware um, of gods of different places. I loved reading about mythology as well as the Bible. So that's what made me especially weird. Um, Although I will say it was harder to get my hands on Norse mythology, I always treasured that the most because I knew that's where my people came from, so I just had a bit more of a connection to it, even though I didn't believe in it. There was something about the stories that I just found so enchanting, and I just loved them so much. Um, yeah, and then fast forward to when I officially made the transition. Um, a part of the reason why I don't know, I guess I just entered a part of my life where for some reason I just became obsessed with like Vikings and history of the time and the mythology, and I couldn't escape it, and I can't really articulate why that is. I don't know. Perhaps I was just feeling the call of my ancestors. um yeah, so I just left. That was combined with I found that a lot of foundational belief in Christianity was just wrong. I'm personally not going to go into that because there's plenty of other people in the deconstruction community who do great stuff with breaking down how a lot of the stuff in the Bible with Christianity, just the Abrahamic faiths, are based on a lot of BS. Probably a lot of it's made up. So you can go check them out. Especially my friend Megan Abernathy with Taste of Truth. Check her stuff out. She does great stuff. Anyways, so that's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about why I'm a heathen. So, for me personally, what was so attractive about it was that I actually had a blood connection to it. Like my ancestors actually practiced these ways, they worship these gods. They also practice ancestor veneration, which I'm all about because I've always loved family. I've always felt a deep connection to where I came from, and even as a Christian, and knowing that my ancestors, came from a people who were converted to Christianity like supposedly 500 to 1,000 years after the death of Christ. So, and I could never hate them personally. And I know plenty of Christians do find them disgusting. And I just could never see eye to eye with them. I could never see how you could hate where you come from. That just didn't make any sense to me, even as a Christian, you know. Um, and what I have found over time is practicing a spiritual faith that is in line with my own ancestors is just so much more natural. And that's ultimately what I was trying to do anyways, because let me tell you some of the craziness of when I was a Christian. Now, again, I knew where I came from, you know. And if you had asked me, where do your ancestors come from, I'd tell you, you know, I had no issues with that. But there was something weird that would happen whenever I would read the Bible, read about the prophets, and read about Jesus and all this stuff, is I would somehow try to connect myself to them and see themselves as my own people, even though they clearly weren't. Because that's the other thing. It's like, if you ask me just straight up, hey, are these people European? Do you share a common ancestry with these people? I would have been like, well, no, of course not. Yet, on an emotional level, that's kind of what I was trying to establish. And I suppose you could say it just came to a head when I just couldn't handle the cognitive dissonance anymore. Because that's what a lot of Christians do, especially in America, is they feel a deeper connection to these foreigners than their own ancestors. That's why I've come to the conclusion that they're just bewitched. They're under a spell, because it doesn't matter what you say to them. It doesn't matter how right you are, and if you get into a religious debate with them, they'll straight up attack you. They'll attack you, and it's because they cannot handle the truth. They cannot handle the cognitive dissonance. So yeah. Anyways, being a heathen just feels so much more natural to me, and when I make offerings to the gods, I always feel a connection. I always feel that I was heard. I also just feel my ancestors in my bones in a way that I never could as a Christian. It gives me a sense of purpose, and knowing that I'm just one strand in a large tapestry, a large web, all connected with all of my people all the way back to the beginning. Whereas that just didn't exist with Christianity. And it just felt so natural to me. Even when I first came to paganism, and I still had a very Abrahamic mind, because obviously that doesn't just go away overnight, because this is deeply ingrained, because for 1,000 to 1,500 years, my ancestors were at least on paper Christian. So the program is deeply embedded, but it's not impossible to get rid of, but it takes a long time. And as I practiced this way and slowly peeled back the layers, it just seems like my decision to leave Christianity was just more and more right. I just have a much more deeper and profound understanding and love for the world around me. And this is going to sound funny, but it's like you can actually experience magic. And not in a funny woo-woo way, but life is magic. Life itself is magical. And it introduces this childlike sense of wonder without forgetting about reality at the same time. It's like these two things can exist at the same time. It's like being a child again, where you have wonder at every new thing, but it never goes away. I still understand how it works on a material level, but then you still have that wonder and seeing just the magic in all of the world. And that was the thing, is when I was a Christian, and I was growing up, I was a huge nerd. I was really into fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and I loved all that stuff. But when I was into that stuff, I just wanted to escape reality, because I thought things like magic and things just weren't real, that it was separate, that it was other, and it could never be, Yet, after becoming a pagan and stripping away all of Abrahamic thought, I've to understand that, magic's all around us. You just have to see it. Just because you're ignoring it doesn't mean it's not there. It's always there. And it's introduced this new childlike wonder of life that makes me so much more appreciative to be alive and to be a part of this world. Anyways, so that's just something I wanted to share. But yeah, ultimately, the other thing, and this is kind of personal, is my family's undergone deep scarring from Abrahamic religions. And a part of my journey has been undoing the harm and putting in the work to do the proper healing. Because that's the other thing. Part of the reason why I was such a hardcore Christian was because my grandpa was a preacher and my grandma was a Sunday school teacher. And like growing up, like my grandma was a great teacher and she made things really fun. So I did enjoy it at the time. And this is why I like had this weird feeling like, oh, the people of the Bible are like my people, even though they're not. Because like I conflate it with my grandma. But they believed in it so hard and so strongly that, I mean, they just uh, left behind their own people. And they would prioritize foreigners and outsiders and their well being over their own. And they'd have this pathological altruism. And it's been a huge detriment to my own family. A lot of suffering and a lot of hurt and a lot of confusion, not understanding why this is happening and just saying, some dumb crap, some copium about how it's all God's plan. And, suffering is this beautiful and wonderful thing. And well, you can say that there is a beauty in suffering in that there is nothing like adversity to push you to greatness. Christianity and Abrahamism brings this whole new thing where it's deeply masochistic and it's like you're loving suffering for the sake of suffering, not because of how it makes you stronger or a better person or that, the great or fortune, the fires of adversity, but because there is something innately good about suffering. That's what they would say. There's just been a lot of moving away from that. And it's something I can only do as a heathen, being true to myself and honest with things as they are. The other thing I want to talk about, since I kind of touched on it, is truth, being true to yourself. And something that I see all the time. The one thing, even as a Christian, I begin to notice is how fake most of them were. They weren't real, they weren't authentic, they were deeply performative. And I had a huge problem with that even as a Christian because I was trying to live my life in such a way that I would not sin anymore. Yet, what you will find is most Christians will excuse away their sin by saying, I'm not perfect, I'm flawed, it is only through the grace of Jesus, blah, 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 blah. We've all heard it. We've all heard it to excuse their bad behavior when they're caught. When it comes to being a heathen, there are no excuses. You are held accountable for everything. And while I will say I have met some people who really weren't great people who identified as a heathen, it is certainly fewer. Whereas when it comes to Christian, it's like all of them. I mean, all of them. And I don't mean like they're like these deep evil people, even though those people absolutely exist. They're just what I call kind of shitty. They're just kind of shitty, just not doing what they ought to. not following through on their word, not doing the right thing when it truly matters, only doing the right thing when other people are watching, and then just sitting around with their thumb up their butt, doing who knows what behind closed doors. Or, just being the sweetest, nicest people in public, but then just some of the nastiest motherfuckers you'll ever meet in private. And what I love about being a heathen is the accountability. It's the accountability. Because that shit doesn't slide at all. Reputation matters. And deeds matter. You can't go to Odin and be like, oh, hey, man, can you, forgive me when I was kind of shitty about this? That's not how it works. It's cause and effect, and there's no escaping it. So it behooves you to be a good person, inside and out, and do it for the joy of being good. It's all part of the Gosti principle, which is kind of on the other subject, is with Abrahamism, it was completely against natural law. You'll find a lot of people will try to say, oh, God's law is all about natural law, but it really isn't, because it teaches you to basically deny all the desires of the flesh, as they would say, which is why you'll find a lot of Christians with these weird kinks and just into weird stuff behind closed doors, because they're not honest about their worldly desires, to put it in a Christian format. Whereas all paganism is completely and totally aligned with natural law. So if I enjoy a thing, that's okay. If I enjoy looking at beautiful women, that's not a bad thing. We can get to the caveats of being married and being true, but that has more to do with being true to your word, as I made a promise to my wife. But I don't have to feel bad for enjoying looking at beautiful things. In fact, it is encouraged to enjoy beauty. It is encouraged to enjoy order, because the two go hand in hand. And that's what makes this life worth living. That's how you get closer to the gods, is by creating more order and beauty within your life. Whereas with Christianity, beauty was something to be avoided and was seen as sinful. And it's just some of the most backwards crap you'll ever see. It's like in Christian circles, beautiful women would often be denigrated or called shallow or this or that, simply because they were pretty. Whereas in paganism, it's something to be admired and something to strive for and achieve. And even if you're not outwardly, quote unquote, beautiful, it is still something that you can produce within the self, within your works, art, writing, whatever. There's so much more to offer. And that's something that I've just fallen in love with, because, as I keep on saying, it's just aligned with the natural world and the natural order and how things are supposed to go. And you look around a lot in today's world, and everything's just so fake and plastic. And everyone's so hungry for authenticity right now. Well, that's the end result of Abrahamism and their attack on order and beauty. It's so natural, isn't it? Now, the Christian will say, oh, that's not true Christianity. That's atheism, blah, 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 blah. But what is it at the end of the day of just Christianity after you've removed Jesus? It's still the same stuff, just the next evolution, the next step. Had the world not been converted to the Abrahamic faiths, this wouldn't have happened. Because people actually enjoyed life. They enjoyed beauty. They enjoyed creating it. They enjoyed being aligned with themselves and with the world around them. Yet all of that is discouraged by the powers that be. I mean, they might say it in one hand with all their pushing with mental health. That's actually just bullshit and just keeps you fixated on trauma and you never actually heal from anything. How they praise weakness. But with paganism, it's on you to strive to become great. And that's the other thing, too, that's kind of funny that I actually wanted to point out is I don't think paganism's for everyone. Because as I've already touched on, you're 100% accountable for all your actions, all your deeds, everything you say. You know, not in a mean, vindictive way, but just in the way of cause and effect. You know, it's physics. You know, it's physics. You know, like if you act like a shitty person, don't be surprised if you feel like shit or shitty things start happening to you. Whereas if you're a really good person, don't be surprised if good things come to you. You know, it's that simple. I'll add the caveat of if you're doing good things, it shouldn't be just for anybody. It should be for your own kin. Like I said, it needs to be aligned with natural law. And don't you let anyone tell you that you are not allowed to take care of your family before the outsider. Because it's aligned with natural law to take care of your own kin. But anyways, that's a digression. Honestly, I've kind of lost my train of thought now. I'm kind of trying a new thing where I'm just doing a stream of consciousness. I'm just talking about my thoughts as they come. Because even though I feel like I'm a decent writer, I'm getting kind of irritated at just doing that. So this is just something new that I wanted to do. Is just kind of put my thoughts out there and see what everybody thinks about them. But yeah, I would say that's why I'm a heathen. It goes beyond just personal experience and how I've experienced the gods and my own ancestors, even though that's true and that's only confirmed my beliefs, but it has more to do with I am allowed to be true to myself. I am allowed to be true to myself. In fact, it's not that I'm allowed, I am expected. And I see that I stand on the shoulders of all the giants that came before me, and it inspires me to be great and to not let them down for everything that they've done for me. It gives me roots, a sense of belonging that I could never get anywhere else, and purpose. Anyways, I think that'll about do it for today. As I said, with other episodes, I'll probably be talking with other people, so stay tuned for that. Because I think having conversations with other people is somewhat more engaging. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time.